Welcome back to our podcast.
Today we're talking with Jim and Cori Corley. We've known the Corleys for over 30 years, so 1994, so it's 35 years? No, that's 31. 31 years. We met in church. We've been in the same church for that long, so we've become very good friends. Cori and I were roommates for a little while in college. And Jim and I had a PE class together, I think.
Right.
You remember that?
Jogging class.
So they have inspired us in many ways over the years. So we're going to kind of hear about their story, how they got to know each other, about their marriage. The thing that inspires me, I think, the most is their marriage and, well, everything. Raising kids, their marriage, their service, their ministry. So we'll just kind of highlight those things.
Yes.
You want to add anything?
And I guess one thing that really inspires me is I don't think I've ever heard them complain. It's just like, man.
So we can start there. How do you not complain? Or do you just do it under your breath?
Strategic. I complain a lot in my head.
Yeah. Okay. So self-control?
I guess, yeah.
Well, just thinking about friends, couples, and different things like that. You need to have friends in your life that's going to elevate you to a whole new level, just in every area. And these are the friends.
Yes.
And so you really look up to you guys.
Well, I would say the feeling is mutual.
Oh, thank you.
For sure.
Yeah.
One of the earliest memories I have coming into church was Antonio in the back as the usher with the biggest smile I think I've ever seen. And the smile never left. Every time I came to church, he had that same smile. And so it's just been a great friend and example for 31 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can't believe it. Sometimes I still picture us as like in our 20s. It's hard to get over.
Yeah.
You're all like that.
In my head, I've never left it.
Yeah. I don't want to repeat it, but
Yeah.
My body definitely tells me otherwise.
yeah. So we'll kind of start with where you from. How did you guys get to Athens, Georgia? Cori, you want to start?
Sure. I lived in Indiana for a little bit, lived in Colorado for about 10 years, moved with my family to Peachtree City, which is also where Jim is from. That's where I originally met him. We had a high school class together.
Oh, so you did know each other.
So I
before
knew,
Athens.
so
Okay,
before
okay.
I had met him, had a class with him, and knew of him and who he was and stuff.
We had a good time in that class.
What class was it?
Graphic arts.
Graphic arts.
Oh, neat.
It was just one of those electives, you had to take. And so I was there with some of my soccer friends. And she was I guess kind of a deadhead, totally different background. But we were at the same table all together. And so me and my friends, we were senior year, we were just cutting up all the time, just doing all kinds of whatever came to our heads. And Cori was just shaking her head at us.
Were you more serious?
We had fun though.
No, I wasn't serious student really, but just their antics, yeah. I went to college at University of West Georgia, and some friends of mine got saved and invited me to church, and during my Christmas break of my freshman year, came up and visited the church and prayed to get saved, not really entirely understanding anything about it. I didn't really have much of a religious background, to really understand entirely what I was saying at first, but kept coming. I would commute, I would drive up.
So where was the University of West Georgia?
It's in Carrollton. It's like almost
So
Alabama.
west of Atlanta.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's almost Alabama.
So how long a drive was that?
3 hours. Yeah. Young. When you're young and you just do.
So you would go to school and then
Go to
class
school, and then I'd come
over
up
the
sometimes
weekend.
on a Tuesday when they would have like the new believers class, and then drive back.
Gosh,
And
I
then
didn't remember you come on Tuesday.
sometimes I'd come on Wednesday. Most of the time I would just come like over the weekend.
Okay.
And stay with various people.
Wow.
And then after my freshman year, I just moved up here and started going to Athens Tech. So.
And you were 17, 18?
18 when I got saved. Yeah.
Where are you from?
Well, grew up, born in California, lived there for about 6 years, and then my dad got a job with the airlines, so we moved to Peachtree City, which is a little bit south of Atlanta. So we both grew up same place. So I moved there in 1980 and was there until I graduated high school, came to UGA, and I mentioned earlier, but just for the sake of anyone else listening, I got to Athens. I came to Athens in a dump truck. And so when we moved up, we had a friend in our neighborhood that had a construction business, so he had all kinds of equipment. So rather than rent a U-Haul, we said, can we borrow a dump truck? And so we loaded up my bed and whatever furniture I had in the dump truck and drove up, pulled out right behind Lipscomb Dormitory is where I was my freshman year. So we unloaded from the dump truck and my dad drove away. So I came in a dump truck, which is pretty fitting.
Wow.
But yeah, so came freshman year and just kind of continued and just went deeper into, I'm sure we'll talk more about this, but just a sinful lifestyle, not, had no plans of doing anything for God. Didn't know much about Jesus. I said I was a Christian.
Did you grow up in church?
No.
Okay.
I grew up culturally a Christian.
Yeah.
My friends claimed to be Christians, although none of them really went to church either. So I don't know where we got the idea that we were
You live
Christians.
in Georgia, hey.
Yeah. Maybe their parents, I don't know. The only time I went to church was Easter with grandma and Christmas sometimes with grandma. That was about it though. If I spent the night at a friend's house and they went to church, maybe I went with them.
Yeah.
But I was always terrified because it's like, we'd go to the Sunday school class and I'd be like, man, I hope they don't ask me any questions because I don't know anything about Jesus or about the Bible or
Like
I know
David
nothing.
and Goliath, nothing.
Nothing.
Like, nothing. Okay.
I didn't even, you see John 3:16 at all the baseball games and stuff. People holding the sign. I didn't even know what is that?
Yeah.
What does that even mean? I had no idea.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I grew up with claiming to be a Christian, thinking that I guess I am, but I didn't really know what that meant.
Yeah.
But yeah, so came to UGA, and my big plan was I was going to graduate college. I wanted to move to Colorado, and I just wanted to snow ski. That was the extent of my foreplanning.
So wait a minute. I thought you wanted to be a golfer.
No,
Really?
Did you play golf
not
at
when I
UGA?
first came here.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, when I first came here, my plan was I just wanted to graduate just because that's what everybody else was doing. I didn't
Okay.
have any real aspirations for that.
Okay.
I started out with a major in international business just because I took French in high school and I really liked it. And then my mom said, "You should do international business. I think that's a good field." I said, "Okay, sure,"
Yeah.
because I just wanted to go snow ski anyway. I don't really care.
Go
but
to
yeah.
the Alps or go
Yeah, exactly.
internationally.
But I did play golf a lot, throughout high school. And so once I was here, I took a golf class and just kind of, got a little bit excited about the possibility. And so I had gotten to where I was practicing,
And
daily.
He's really good.
I don't know about that, but I was practicing a lot, going to the UGA, the course there, the driving range, putting green, spending, a lot of time there, trying to see if maybe I could walk on to the UGA golf team. I think that was probably a pipe dream, but that was what I was going to try to do.
Okay.
That never went anywhere, but
Yeah.
partly because I got saved.
So tell us about that. So that was your freshman year or sophomore year?
Sophomore year is when I got saved.
Okay.
Yeah, so I had started practicing freshman year because I took the golf class, and then from there just kind of kept on with that. But sophomore year, a friend of mine, so it was kind of a whole chain reaction with Cori. So this guy named Jeff got saved, and Cori knew him really well. Bill also knew him really well, which is another guy from church. And then Carrie, which was a good friend of mine, he knew both of them.
Okay.
And then, so Jeff got saved, and then Bill got saved because of that. Cori got saved because of both of them. Carrie got saved because of those two. And then Carrie brought me out to church. And so, he was witnessing to me. He was all excited because I'd known him since high school. We played soccer together, and he had much more of a religious upbringing.
Yeah.
And every time they would have those, like, I guess they were vacation Bible school kind of things, he would get excited. He would get as on fire as a unsaved Baptist can be. But he would get excited about Jesus, and he would try to get me to come to church. And so I was used to him kind of having these ups and downs with his religious fervor. And so I was always trying to bring him over to the dark side. Come party with us. Come do some drugs with us. Come on, man. It's fun, you know. So I was a great friend. But so I was always working on him, trying to get him to do some of that stuff with us. And so by the time we were in college, he had gotten to where he had experimented a little bit more. He had smoked some cigarettes with us. He was drinking every now and then. I was trying to get him to take that next step. Come on, man, smoke a joint with me, you know?
Yeah.
But then I remember we were at Christmas break back in Peachtree City, and another good friend of both of ours named Nate was like, oh, man, Carrie's back to his religious ways again. And I remember standing in the hallway of my house, and my reaction was, oh, all that work wasted. That was my response to hearing. Ultimately, what I found out was him actually getting saved. This wasn't just another, up and down. This was, he had genuinely gotten saved. And so I came back to Athens, I guess I got to start working on Carrie again.
Yeah.
But Carrie had other plans, and so did God, because Carrie began working on me. So Carrie this time he was serious. I mean, he had been transformed, and so he started to witness to me. And I went through about a week where it was kind of back and forth. I would go to his house just because the things he was telling me, it was stirring something in me. It's like, wow, that sounds like nothing I've ever heard before. That sounds amazing, because he was talking about Jeff and about Bill and being downtown and street preaching and witnessing and all this stuff. I'm like, what? What in the world? I mean, it sounded exciting, and it sounded like something I just kind of knew, wow, I kind of need that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, then I'd go back to my apartment and I'd be like, oh, but I'm in college. I'm having fun. I'm drinking, And so it was just this wrestling match for about a week. And I finally was just, to get him off my back was kind of, it's like, okay, I'll go to church with you. I'll go to church. Fine. And so I went to church with no intention at all of getting saved or doing anything. I was just fulfilling my obligation. I said I'd go. Okay, I'll go. And I mean, even just walking into the church, I was like, whoa, this place is different. Who's this smiling guy over here? Greeted by Antonio's big smile. But it was like no church I'd ever been to before. And it was, what the difference was, the presence of God. I know that now.
Yeah.
That it was just, man, there was a tangible presence of God in the church. And it convicted me. I mean, I was excited. I was raising my hands. I mean, I'm a stone cold sinner, but I'm raising my hands
Really?
to worship God. Yeah. I mean, my hands are straight up. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing, but everybody else is doing it. So
Yeah.
long hair, I had my hat on backwards, just raising my hands to Jesus. But at the end of the service, I mean, as soon as the altar call, my hand was straight up, and I prayed, and I immediately felt different. It's like 1,000 pounds just lifted off me.
So what kind of prayer was that? Like when you say you prayed, what did you?
So a guy
remember what
led
you
me
said?
in a sinner's prayer. I don't remember
Okay.
exactly what I said, but it basically was just making the decision to repent, turn away from a sinful lifestyle, and just surrender to Jesus.
Okay.
Ask him to forgive me and change me. And man, did he.
And all of a sudden you felt the change.
I felt a change.
Wow.
Literally, it felt like 1,000 pounds had lifted off me. That's the only way I could describe it.
Wow.
So we went back home that night, Carrie and I had 3 roommates at the time. And so I was excited to be able to tell them, because I thought, oh man, I'm saved. This is so amazing. This is so real. Of course they're going to get saved as soon as I tell them. So one by one they came in, and it was about maybe 45 minutes to an hour with each of them, where I would just tell them, hey, I got saved. And then they would ask questions, say, Carrie, answer him. I didn't know. So it was just.
Was Carrie able to at that point?
Most
Was he
of them,
because
he had such
things
a-
had come back to him?
Because he had a pretty religious upbringing, so he knew a lot of
Yeah.
things. So he was able to answer most of the questions, at least from what I recall. None of them got saved, but it was exciting. I mean, it was an amazing night, and it's continued. From that point on, my life's never been the same.
Wow.
And so it was January 12th, 1994.
That's awesome.
So
Wow. So 31 years, just a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
Okay. Lose track of time.
So me on the outside looking in, it was just like this was the first big revival that we actually had in the church. So when you think about it, out of how many of you guys, I mean, how many people actually really came? I'd say 20, 25?
Yeah, so I was one of those
Yeah.
one in that group too. So I knew Bill and Jeff a different way, but yeah. So I'd say give or take?
I'm gonna say at least 25.
Yeah.
So it was
There
just
was
like,
quite a few from Peachtree City that were like commuting and coming up. And,
Yeah.
And for a while would come up and come to church on Sundays. And we were bringing visitors from Peachtree City.
So what did you guys think about all these?
well, it was
college
amazing
students
because
coming in.
we're praying for God, to move, on the campus and just in Athens, and all of a sudden, these college students begin to come, and it's like, man, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 20. I mean, it was just so amazing. So when you say that me smiling all the time, it was so exciting to see all these different people coming in because we would go out, and witness, go to door, tell people about Jesus.
And I think you actually invited Jeff to church.
Well, I think at least 3 or 4 different people invited him.
Okay.
And I think he had gotten 3 different flyers that week.
Flyers. Yeah.
And I think like during the week he got like 3 different flyers from different people, and then he said one day, I guess he woke up whatever, and one of those flyers just fell to the floor, and he came out, and it was just to see all the different people coming. And that's what we were praying for. That's what we were going out and telling people about Jesus, inviting people. And so for me, that was the first time just seeing so many people come in and really, like not just visiting.
And have them stick.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Not just visiting, but just really saying, I want to serve Jesus. Yeah. And so just even thinking about all the, times me and you would go outreach and just, crash parties and different things like that. So it was really exciting. I mean, it was like one of the major times in our church here in Athens, just to see all these different people coming and really giving their lives to Christ.
It was neat because the way I knew Bill and Jeff was through a friend from Auburn. And, my grandmother was a Christian, family members, my parents, but I'd never seen someone young. I'd never seen their life change like that, just someone their age. And so when Bill and Jeff got saved, I remember going out to breakfast with them, and Bill was a different person. And again, I didn't know them very well, but I could literally, within a week, he was a different person. And so that was really neat. And that was what was so
So can you
inspiring to me, was just that, like, man, he changed that much in 1 week.
So give him an example of Bill.
What would we call him? Mean
Mean
Bill?
Bill, I think, yeah.
And he was just mean. Sorry, Bill, if you're watching this. But yeah, he would smile. I mean, just little things like that. He would smile, and he quit doing drugs and quit cussing, and he would
Came out
like
of the
listen
teepee.
to you. Came out, lived in a house again, and so yeah, it was maybe not. Yeah, there were big changes, but also just his personality. You could tell there's such a peace about him. So it was very inspiring time, because those 2 guys, just everyone was seeing a big change in them. So okay, so then you guys get saved around the same time, but you didn't really know each other. You knew each other a little bit from high school, but did you recognize each other when you saw each other at church?
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean,
Okay.
I feel like I talked on the phone or something to Bill or Carrie or something, and was like, "Oh, Jim, Corley got saved," and I was like, "Really, from Macintosh?"
That guy? Wow.
So, because that was like a month after I had prayed to get saved. So,
And then how did you guys kind of get to know each other, or what was your story in meeting and dating? Kind of how did that happen?
well, just since all of us kind of already knew each other anyway, we all would do stuff. We'd
Kenny
go
Rogers
places.
Roasters.
Yeah. Oh, man,
Every
that place
Sunday.
was so good.
Man, I wish they would open that back
I
up.
know, I love that place. But we would just do stuff all together, and just
Huddle House.
by hanging around each other and stuff like that. Just
So
And
that
our
was
first conference was when it became.
so
was kinda
of
like-
'94.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. So
So I think that is when I remember you guys talking. Was that when we were all in the Howard Johnson?
yeah.
and you guys would chase each other around the first floor. You remember that?
No.
I kind of remember that.
I think some of us were sitting outside, and like here comes Corey like sprinting, and here comes Jim. You guys had a lot of fun together. I'll just put it that way.
I was doing that too with Jeff and Carol.
Okay,
we were
okay.
just I don't even remember what games we were playing, but we were what 19?
Yeah.
We were still a little insane.
Yeah.
But
Right.
So you guys started dating pretty soon after that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
remember that?
Well, yeah, but I just want to say this because I can't get it out of my mind. Everybody know Corey as, just kind of laid back, reserved. But when Corey would come to church,
You talking about my car?
she'd be way down, and you could barely see her eyes, And I mean, it was just like she'd be driving like this, and I'm like, man, that white girl. It's like, and I mean, she'd be playing all these, songs, and I was like, man, it just don't fit, But she'd be laid back. I'm talking about, when I say laid back, I'm talking about
very
laid
reclined.
back. And I mean, you could barely see her eyes. She had the tinted windows.
No, she did. You have to.
I don't know if I
I think you had 10 windows.
Well, it was just like I just remember it was just like it's like I don't get that, But that was like just
She's trying to fit in with you guys.
Well, no, that was Corey. It was like just so. I just think back and just nobody would just if they seen that, they'd be like, no way, no way, And so
So you guys started to date around
Conference
5 months or
time,
so, and then
yeah.
how long did you date before you got engaged?
I think we got engaged
4 or 5 months. It's like October. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Gosh, just all runs together. So you got engaged in
And then we didn't
October,
get
and
married
then
till,
married the next
in
August.
August, yeah.
Yeah.
August. Okay. So you were young then, still 20s
21 and
20, and he was 21.
at engagement or marriage?
Marriage, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Did either of your parents get married that young?
He doesn't know.
I don't know.
They did. His mom was 21,
Okay.
and his dad
How
was
do you know that?
Math. Do
Yeah.
the math.
My parents weren't really young when they got married.
Okay.
They were actually, my dad was like 31 when they
Okay.
got married. So
So what did they think about you guys getting married while still in college?
they were actually fine.
Yeah. They don't remember them having any
Yeah.
reservations
they weren't
or.
like, no, don't do that. Or
Yeah.
they were just like, okay.
So I know some
I think
people
they were
like
still kind of blown away by
everything.
what is happening to him. Who is this guy?
So it was just
it
one
was
more
just
thing.
par for the
One
course,
less
I
thing to
guess.
add to everything else, yeah.
Just nowadays, people get married later. I mean, back then people still got married young, but but nowadays it's like you just got to wait and wait and wait.
Right,
So
right.
do you guys? What do you? I mean, everybody's different, of course, but what do you think about getting married young? Looking back, was that a good idea? Should you have waited longer? What do you?
I feel like it was a great idea.
Okay.
I mean, we didn't know any different, so
Yeah.
it's like, well, you don't have anything to compare it with.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we knew this is what
Yeah.
we felt God wanted. We knew this is what we wanted, so why wait?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That's how I feel too. And then, so you got married in 95. Okay. And then
95. I got it.
yeah, I was jealous. I was like, man,
we were actually in your wedding,
Yeah.
but we had just started dating, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had just started dating.
yeah.
Yeah, everybody. in
All
our
the
wedding was
couples in
dating.
our-
That's right, they all got
to
married.
each other.
Yep.
Gosh, I remember that.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was the matchmaker wedding.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so you got married in 95, and then, so how were the first few years of marriage? Would you look back saying you had a lot of struggles, or was it pretty smooth? What do you remember?
I mean, I don't remember thinking that.
I mean, I think it was pretty smooth. I don't remember.
struggles. Yeah.
I remember I was a bonehead, but like
She forgave you quickly.
one specific memory that I have that I cringe to even bring it up. You may not even remember. Well,
probably
you
not
might though.
remember.
I just remember one night I was getting ready to go to outreach, and I don't know if I don't think we fought. I don't remember that we fought, but I don't know if there was some tension or something between us. But I was getting ready to go to outreach, and then you said you weren't going to go, and I was so mad. I was like, "You're not going to outreach?" And I was like, don't you know that's sin? And then I left.
Did you really say that?
Yeah.
I don't
You remember that?
No.
Good. I'm sorry. Probably shouldn't have brought that back up. No, but I had a lot to learn.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody does, I think,
Oh, yeah.
when they get
Oh, yeah.
married.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but yeah, I don't remember it being rocky or.
No.
I mean, my mom, when she pulled up to the place we live, because we had the cedar paneled duplex. You guys
Yeah,
lived there for a little while.
No,
Yeah,
no, no.
Main
We were
Street.
actually going to live there. Because like when y'all moved out, we were going to move in.
We found another place.
We
Yeah.
found another place.
Good.
Yeah.
His mom would cry.
Yeah.
Come visit us.
That's what I was going to say. When the first time my parents pulled up to this house, my mom just started weeping. I can't believe they live here.
I don't
It
remember
wasn't
anything
quite
bad
up to
about
her
it.
standards.
Just small.
It was fine. I don't know
Okay.
why. I don't know.
Now, since then, that neighborhood's gone down a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Back
was
then, it was okay.
different design,
Yeah. They were interesting looking.
Yeah, yeah.
I
They were
mean, it
different
worked for
design.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you weren't there too long.
No.
A couple of years.
Yeah, a couple of years.
Okay. And then how old were when you had kids? Started having kids?
23 and 24.
Okay.
I was 23, he was 24.
Oh, wow. So young, too?
Mm-hmm.
Did you have energy when you're young? It's good to have kids young.
I guess. Yeah. I mean,
You need it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so wait, back to dating. I didn't ask you about that. Do you have any good dating advice? So you guys, even though you're engaged for several of those months, you dated for a year and a half. Do you have any good dating advice for young people watching?
I think the best advice is that the relationship should be based on relationship, like as far as personality, connecting with things in common. That was one of the things as a Christian that I, prior to being saved, it was all physical. That was one of the main aspects of it. But getting saved and trying to do it God's way, that makes the foundation of the marriage, not the physical relationship, but rather the connection between the two people and their love for God and their interests. And so it makes the relationship on a much, much better foundation rather than anything physical. So keeping the relationship clean until marriage,
Yeah.
I think is probably the best advice.
And then going into marriage, so a lot of people have a hard time the first couple of years. Right?
Yeah.
What do you feel like? Did you just have a certain communication style? Did you guys talk about things a lot? What do you feel like kept you from a lot of arguments and a lot of problems? Because unfortunately, that's maybe not very common
Yeah.
to not have a lot of fights. What do you?
I don't know.
I don't.
Some of it might be personality.
Okay.
We did both kind of had similar familial like his parents were both still married. My parents were married. As far as that kind of background.
So did you see yourself kind of talking to each other like your parents did? So you could that was a good reference for
I guess
you.
like like replicating some of those kinds of things and I don't know. He's just
I can't think of a.
he's just an easygoing guy. So
Okay,
it's-
good.
Same for her.
And they're
Put
telling
two easygoing people together. And
and
It's
they're
funny.
telling the truth. I mean,
Well,
it's just
funny.
like just
One
laid
of our
back.
first marriage retreat. No, I was pregnant with Kayla, so it was probably our second or third marriage retreat. So we would go on these marriage retreats every year, and we were all sitting together. And you may not remember this, but we took a marriage test, personality test. It was just like we had a piece of paper, and
Oh, that was at that hotel, right?
yeah.
Okay.
And so here's 1 through 10. All four of us individually had papers. So he and I were exact opposites on every category. He was a 1, I was a 10, or vice versa. And you guys were all the same. And I almost started crying. I'm like, how are we going to make this work? Because your personalities were, kind of similar. But being laid back and just kind of letting things roll off.
Yeah.
That's a very good characteristic. So maybe that really helped you. Maybe just having that laid back
sure.
personality.
Sure, it probably does.
she just let my whole attack. That's a sin. She just let it roll right
Yeah,
off.
yeah. She didn't even remember it.
Well, just, and y'all came from the same area growing up,
Right,
different
yeah,
things
yeah.
like that. I think just the culture really makes the difference.
Yeah.
Because we came from two different worlds, and it was just like, what I was used to, what she was used to. It was like, man, we had to get used to that, and like come together. But then with you guys, it was like, coming from that same area, this is expected. I think that really makes a huge difference. And I mean, y'all are laid back and just kind of
Yeah.
going with the flow and different things like that. But I think that really makes a difference, far as coming from two different cultures and different things like that. I think it really makes a difference.
Yeah.
Whether it's broken home, marriage, different things like that, because, y'all seen the marriage, mom and dad, me, it was like, total opposite, and parents and different things like that. So I think it really makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
And on the subject of marriage, I told y'all a few weeks ago, when we were having some issues in our marriage, I just sat down and thought, no, this is not that hard. Let me think about some people that I look up to, some marriages that I look up to, and just do what they do. I'm like, simple advice to myself. So I looked at my parents and I looked at you guys. And the things that you have in common with my parents have a wonderful marriage, but you guys do stuff together and you seem to have fun together. And that's what my parents did. And I was like, I can do that. And so, it's not like things were awful, but it was like we weren't spending time together. It's like we were both so busy doing our own
Right.
things, both work and ministry. We're kind of doing separate things. So we literally just started riding together. We would go shopping together. And we, in fact, saw you guys at Costco one time. We're like, wow, this is what they do together. So do you feel like that helps, just enjoying time together? Do you feel like that helps build your marriage?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you
That's
guys
one
have...
of the things I had to learn early on too, because that was one of the mistakes when I was a bonehead when I first got married, because she was really good friends with Bill, so they spent a lot of time together, and so when I got married, they continued to spend a lot of time together, and so like when she would go to the grocery store, her and Bill would go.
Yeah.
I didn't see a problem with that. This is what they do. And so eventually, I forget, I think it was Greg or somebody in the church said they saw her and Bill at the grocery store together and mentioned it to pastor, and he was like, this is probably not a good thing. So I said, I should be the one going to the store with her.
Oh,
So
that's neat.
so that was an early learned lesson.
Yeah.
And so that, continues to this day. We go to Costco all the time together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We love it.
Yeah.
Do you have
That's
planned
good or
date
bad.
nights too, or do you just kind of just do things on the spur of the moment?
Mostly spur of the moment. I mean, every
not
now and
easy
then
with
we'll-
kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every now and then we'll plan something, but most of the time it's just spur of the moment.
And so you've raised 3 sons. I know you homeschooled several years. So I know a lot of people are interested in that, these days, or sometimes doing some homeschooling, some
Yeah.
school. So what are some good things you liked about that? Maybe some drawbacks? What do you did a lot of the teaching?
Yeah. So our middle son, he did homeschooling like the entire time. And then like our youngest is in school now, like a regular school. It's like when we would go places and people would like they'd be getting their haircut or something and they'd be like, "Where do you guys go to school?" We're like, "We don't go to school." I'm like, "Don't say it like that."
Who do you think I am?
Call the truants now.
I think probably the biggest advantage that we had was just that they could be more focused on something that they were interested in.
Yeah.
Like our oldest was really interested in sciences, and just so he was able to just focus on those kinds of things. And our middle son got really into like computers and setting up websites and coding and all kinds of stuff like that he was able to devote more time
Funny story
to
about
doing
that
stuff
too.
about him starting his business.
Yeah. So we had kind of made this agreement with him about just to try to encourage him to save money that, what was he, like 13 or 14 when we made this arrangement that we would match whatever money he could save to help him buy a
Oh,
car.
yeah.
Oh wow.
And so, unbeknownst to us, he had figured out an idea where he was going to contact a YouTuber and he was going to set up and run an online store for him to sell merchandise. So he sent this email, he contacted this like rising YouTuber, and got this deal with him. And he was like 13, 14 years
Like
old.
14, yeah, or something.
Builds this Shopify store, starts designing and selling merchandise for this guy.
Not really telling us.
We didn't know anything about it. I mean, it was just, and this probably went on for more than a year.
Wow.
I mean, because he was almost 16, and he was like, I started this online store.
Well, no, see, that's not how it was though.
Yeah.
I came to him, and I was just gonna do a spot check because he's on the computer all the time. So, let me see your computer. Let me see what you're looking at. So
that's right.
I get his computer and I look at the history and I see this YouTuber's name. It's destroying. What is this? What is this destroying thing? Show me what this is, And so then he's like, oh. So then he had to show me, and he had to go on and explain. He said, "Yeah, I set up this store, and we've been selling merchandise, and
For
I
3
forget-
years.
Yeah,
And I have $9,000 saved up.
So you're gonna match that, right?" Wait a minute.
Wow.
It's like, you're on your own now, buddy.
Back then, that's a new car.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
That is awesome.
homeschooling is what enabled him to be
Yeah.
able to pursue those things that he was most interested in and devote the time to it and learn how to do all these things because that's what he was into,
Well, when he came up, when we were starting the podcast and we asked for some advice, I had no idea how much he knew. And he was like speaking another language,
Yeah.
all the technical stuff. And then he would just say, oh, well, you have to do this and this and this. And I said, can you stay a little bit longer? Can you explain that? And so the one question that we started off with, we ended up with a lot of good information. So very intelligent. So all three of them, of course. But so yes, it's a shout out to homeschooling. My goodness.
Yeah, but then he got a lot of that from his dad.
Yeah.
I mean, you're an entrepreneur. And I mean, just all the different things that you do and done, and it's just like, so I'm sure he was in the background watching you a lot of the times.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he certainly went down his own path. I mean, he was like learning how to do coding and write computer games and all this stuff. I don't know how you're doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure that kind of piqued his interest because I was into video editing, and so we would make Star Wars videos, and so we would film these things, and he would, want to learn how to do all that, and so that I'm sure kind of got him started down that path. But yeah, much of it was just driven by his own desire to learn these things, and he just put in the time and did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's one thing, like, just watching you inspires me because, I mean, you've started, several businesses and done pretty good. And it's just like, man, how does he do that? He just picks this up and does this and does that. It's just like, so just tell us a little bit about,
It's funny
being
that
an
that
entrepreneur.
inspires you, but on the other side, it is a source of mockery from Bill. He mocks me
Serial
all the time
entrepreneur.
about starting things and starting this and then starting another one and then starting this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have started a few businesses. Most of them just were, like a bottle rocket that just shot off and then was over and done. But I don't know. I've always had an interest in self-employment, at least to some extent. I like the idea of just the freedom that you can have running your own business. Unlimited earning potential if you have a really successful business that takes off. So that was kind of always, a thought that I was like, maybe that'll work out. So that's where a lot of the kind of business things that I've tried over the years. But the one that has lasted the longest is the current one that's mostly just built on website design and SEO stuff and a little bit of video editing, things like that. And that's mostly just because that's what I'm most interested in.
Yeah.
So most of the BAC Media Group that I still do now, really I started that because I had an interest in video editing in particular. And that equipment is very expensive, as you know from some of the stuff that you have here. It's very pricey. And so if it's a hobby that you want to pursue, it takes a good bit of money to be able to continue to get equipment and do all
Right.
the things. So that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to start that, was just to have some money to spend on this kind of equipment.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that was, that one was never really started with the intention of this is going to be my full-time job, and it was really just kind of a side hustle to feed a habit, feed a hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A business expense on your taxes. That's
There
it.
you go.
When we sold our business a couple of years ago, and then the next year we had to pay so much taxes, like we got to start another business.
Yeah.
This is not fun.
Yeah.
We like those. We like those deductions.
Right.
So let me ask you this: as a family, what are some of the things y'all like to do?
Go to Costco.
But the kids don't like to go to
Owen
Costco.
likes Costco.
Owen does.
Yeah.
Golfing.
Not Alan.
I like watching them golf.
Yeah.
They
Okay.
just, the four of them went, or no, it was you and William and
Owen.
Owen played.
Yeah, Alan doesn't like golf. He
Alan's not a
played
fan.
some growing up, but he's
Yeah.
not really into it.
So now I heard Owen's pretty good too.
He did pretty well.
Yeah, for having never really played, when we went out and played with my dad, and then once here, he's decent.
Yeah.
So he if he wanted to, he could be pretty good at it. I don't know that. I mean, he hasn't really expressed
No.
too much of an interest after that,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
he could play good if he wanted to.
Now Wheaton was pretty good too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like, wow, man, he's a little kid. I mean, it's like, and to give y'all some insight, Jim, I would go with Jim to play golf, so he could, explain to me the rules and, which
which club?
which club to hit with, and so,
Yeah.
so the only time I'd want to go is when I went with Jim
Yeah.
because he educate me.
Vacations. I mean, we like to take trips. Disney World
He
is
used to play board
probably.
games a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
You're
Board
pretty
games.
good at board games.
Me? No, he's the one that always wins.
Which one is it? The word game?
Oh, I can. Yeah, some
Yeah.
of those. Yeah.
Yeah, she's the queen of the word games.
Winning a lot of those. And we would
We
always
use that. Yeah, go
make
ahead.
our kids. We would play board games, and Jim would win a lot, and our kids would get so mad. And so we started making them. If when he would win, they'd have to tell him that he was a great champion. They hated it.
I don't want to say
Champion.
I mean, William would literally have meltdowns.
We've
He was
we've
like,
had some.
That's the best I've ever done. He got
You
banned.
still beat me.
He got banned from Monopoly because
Yeah.
of his meltdowns. It's like,
Monopoly was
Yeah.
that was a rough one for
I
us
think
too.
I'm doing so well at that you just still beat me.
tell me I'm a great champion.
We would leave a Monopoly game like
Oh, like set
in
up, take
place
picture,
for
yeah.
days. I'm like, can we put that thing
Yeah.
away?
No, we're not finished.
Antonio hasn't won yet. We're not finished.
Well, just I can remember one time we were over at y'all's house, and like, yeah, let's just play a little ping pong, and it was just like, you guys are really good. You guys are really good.
I had a ping pong table growing up, so I guess maybe that's like a full size in our basement. We had a big ping pong table.
And so their family, they're really good. It's like, gonna ever miss? I mean, it's just like back and forth, back and forth.
You've
back
got some
and
pretty
forth.
strong ping pong players in your family now, too.
Right, yeah.
We have the competitiveness. That's what we have. I don't know about the skill, but the competitiveness is
They
there.
they didn't get it from me. I'm horrible at ping pong. But just watching you two play, I think it was that night we were over there and y'all were like,
Oh, I
back
remember.
and
And your
forth.
head was like,
I know, and it was just like, I just couldn't believe how good
so
y'all
look at
were.
Tonio.
Oh man! So does everybody in the family play?
Yeah.
William's pretty good. Owen's pretty good. Alan, he can be good, but he just doesn't. He's like, "Meh, I don't want to play.
Okay. Yeah.
He's not. I mean, he can be competitive, but for the most part, he's just like, nah, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, on a more serious note, Antonio had mentioned, I guess recently, he was just talking about how when he was diagnosed with cancer, he talked to you guys a lot, and you guys were very supportive. Do you want to talk about that, Annie? So, what year was that when you were diagnosed with breast cancer?
Diagnosed at the very end of 2016.
Okay. So, very young. You're very young.
41. 41. 41. All right.
You asking me? I don't know.
You're the ones good at math.
So what was your reaction when you found out? How did you handle that?
I mean, they, just doing all the regular tests, and they're like, oh, well, you get this test, and they're like, well, we want you to come in and do this other thing, but, a lot of people have to do that, and it's usually not a big deal, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. And then,
Was that the first time you'd had to go for that, like, follow-up test? Or...
I had actually had a follow-up test, like, the year before. So I was like, okay, well, yeah, I did have a follow-up before, and so then they call it another time. They're like, well, now we want you to get it biopsied. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so, but then they're like, but still, even when we do that, it's, lots of people get biopsies and it's not that big of a deal, it's just something else. And I was like, okay. And, but then, like, I remember because it was, the parade, we had the Christmas parade that our church was in, and it was like we were done, and I was like looking at my phone, and like kept saying private caller, and I was like, who's trying to call me? So I didn't answer it, and then the next day something else was going on, like a Bible study or something, and then the same thing, private caller, and I was like,
I think it was an outreach.
yeah, and then
Like at night. So that's in
Yeah.
the evening. Oh.
and so then it was my surgeon that was trying to call me, and so he did finally get in touch with me on Saturday, and he's like, well, it looks like it really, it is cancer. And
Wow.
I was like, okay. But he was like, but it's very small. It's, we caught it very early, and you're probably just gonna need to get surgery and maybe take this medicine, like very similar to what our pastor's wife had to do. And so I was like, okay, it's gonna be the same as that, and it was, But then sometime between that and when we actually went to go see him, he's like, well, we actually did all this extra pathology, and there's this extra thing that it has that hers didn't have. And they're like, and everybody that has that, we recommend that they do chemotherapy.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, oh, so that's a little bit different than what you said. So, but I don't know. I mean, it was just kind of like, oh.
So from the time you found out, so that was early December. When did you have the surgery?
I had the surgery in January, like January 25th or something. And then started the chemotherapy in February.
And radiation? So you did chemo for a while, and then...
I did the chemo for 5 months or whatever, and then they do the radiation after that.
Okay.
So...
So looking back, were there a lot of struggles, or you just kind of like your personality, you're just okay?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely at first we struggled just because, it caught us.
This isn't supposed to happen.
Yeah, it caught us
Not
off
at this
guard.
age, yeah.
We're young, or I was young, and it's just, and then I think part of it, not like in a deceptive kind of hiding way or whatever, but we really just were like, our youngest son was 7, so it's like, well, we can't be going around like moping and crying and being diaristic about everything. We got little kids that we gotta try to be positive and have a good outlook for, and in front of, have the victory and in front of them, and try to hopefully help them learn how to navigate and handle stuff that comes along that's not really what you planned or what you would prefer.
Right.
For sure. So
have they said anything to you, like looking back, did they ever bring it up? Like, wow, you guys handled that. Like, have they ever mentioned that to you, that was a good reference point for them?
I guess not. I mean, they're guys.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Oh yeah,
They're
you had
not
cancer.
really
Oh yeah, I
like
forgot
all
about that.
like, emotional, mushy gushy, like,
Sorry, we have 3 girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, help me
We
out.
talk
help
about
me
a
out.
lot.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I guess that would be something we could ask them. Like, hey, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
did
'cause
they
I don't
all?
remember them ever really.
Okay, so they
bringing
just
it
kind
up,
of-
or-
okay.
Well, they were young. I mean, even though Owen was William and Alan were
Yeah.
teenagers.
Yeah, and William was very helpful. They were both very helpful. I mean, like just doing stuff, taking it upon themselves to do things and be helpful, and
That's great.
So what was your thought process, Jim?
Well, it was a shock, of course. I remember that Saturday when you finally did talk to him, I was headed out the door for outreach. And it was just that, my mind was spinning at outreach. But, you just, life brings unexpected things. And so we just kind of said, we're just going to trust God and believe God. I mean, the outlook was good. The prognosis was good. So we weren't, terrified or scared that, or anything like that. But we were expecting good things. We're just going to trust God. And like she said, just trying to maintain a good example for our kids. Just that was a big.
I would say even for my parents.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm an only child, so and my mom was had a very worrying, like, leaning personality. So just even for her sake, not being like, I don't know. That's just the approach we took. I don't know that it's necessarily
that's awesome.
right or wrong or whatever. But
No, it was really good. I mean, it was really helpful because, I can just remember, when I, got diagnosed with prostate cancer, I just remember thinking back, just how you guys handled it. And
That's where the no complaining came in. He's like, wow, they never even complained.
Well, I'm for all you out there, if you didn't know that she had cancer, you'd have never known. And that was, it's just like we're in the church together, and it was almost like they never missed a beat. And, on the outside looking in, you're like, man, because when you hear cancer, it's just like, man. But y'all handled it so good to where it really helped me years later. Just the example y'all gave me, it just really helped me because, like, man, they didn't complain. I mean, it was just like, I don't even, just, it's all like, did we even help them? It's like, because y'all just, it was just like, what did y'all say, lay back and just take everything in stride. And it was just, it was just so encouraging because it was
That's what
helpful.
we're going to name the podcast, Taking Life in Stride.
Well, and just, y'all just take things and just go with the flow. And it was just so helpful for me because it's like, man, I can't freak out, that, you and Mona Lisa, it's just like made me look like a little wimp, and it's like, let me,
I think that was actually pretty helpful for her too. I mean, nobody wants to be like, oh yeah, well, I'm glad I went through that. But it's like, because I'm like, not glad I went through it, but it was definitely beneficial for her that I already had gone through a lot of that stuff and could help her
And you were so calm about it.
navigate
Yeah.
some of it. And
Yeah, I remember her mentioning that. She was so glad you're there with her. I think you went to appointments with her and just
at first I went to
help her understand. Because, like, for her, it was just, it was overwhelming. But, you were there to explain the doctor talk to her.
Right, yeah.
And it really makes a difference, just knowing someone's gone through, something like that. And you can watch them on the outside and it's just like, wow. Not knowing, I didn't know I was going to, it's like, here it is several years later. And I went back to that time of watching y'all, how y'all handled it. And it was just like, it really helped me process things and just, like where I wasn't just freaking out and just, but just watching y'all, it really, just helped. And just seeing, just you, Mona Lisa.
Well, and that's one thing that helped us too was, Pastor and Cheryl had gone through the same thing. Cheryl having breast cancer. So just seeing how they handled it and how Pastor LaValle, just never missed a beat. Just, trusting God, doing what he's called to do. And just, it's like, man, that's the example I want to follow.
Yeah.
Very good.
So yeah, just having those examples. And the church was amazing just with helping with everything. So that made a huge difference.
Right.
Yeah. And like, just, part of our podcast, we want to inspire others and help others because a lot of people, like you were saying, that, that family or that setting to where you have other people helping, a lot of people out there don't have that. and just, hopefully someone's going to be able to watch this and say, wow, to where it inspires them and helps them, overcome whatever they're going through. Because, just being in the church, it's almost like sometimes we don't realize how good we have it, and just, like you're saying, just to be in that culture, it's just like where people are loving one another, helping each other. Right. But then, just out there in the world, a lot of people don't have that. And it's that whole struggle of just trying to make it and maintain and just figure it out as you go. But like you were saying, you were able to help other people, just go through the process. And just, like with me having prostate cancer, a lot of men reached out to me, and it was just like this family of men were really educating me and just giving me insight, on what to expect and different things like that. That really made a huge difference.
Yeah.
So one more thing I wanted to ask about is just the fact that we've known each other for so long, and now I think we could kind of say that we're mature Christians. We've been doing this a while. And so looking back, what do you guys see as some ups and downs in your Christianity or in your devotional time, in your prayer time? What are some things that you can kind of give advice to maybe young people, new Christians, seasons in life? What's some advice you can give?
I would just say that probably the main thing that sustains you through all those ups and downs is just developing a habit of just regular Christian habits of like prayer and reading your Bible. And so one of the things that has really changed about me over the years, when I was young, I hated getting up in the morning. I could easily sleep till 1 p.m, no problem. But now, if I'm not up by 4:30, I've overslept. So it's like, and the reason that I like that so much and just love that early morning time is because that has become the time that I can really spend focused just on God, reading my Bible and prayer, and when there's not all kinds of noise and all kinds of other distractions and things. And so just having that foundation just of your own relationship with God, I've come to see how vital that is to being able to weather all the ups and downs, because there's going to be good times, and it's easy to get excited and kind of push things off to the side and forget about that relationship with God and just kind of ride the high. But the downturn is going to come at some point. That's just life in a fallen world. So there's always ups and downs, but just the consistency of just your walk with God, doing the basic. It's not rocket science. The basic simple things that you already know to do. Just making sure that you set aside the time to keep that as a regular part of your everyday life.
Yeah.
To me,
but
that's
you
the biggest
don't get to
thing.
a place where it's like, oh, I don't need to do this anymore, or whatever. Like,
it's really the opposite. The longer I'm saved, the more I see, wow, I really, really need this.
Yeah.
Look I've been saved so long, and how can I still struggle with this?
Yeah.
How can I, so it's just like, the longer I'm saved, the more I see how desperately I need that time.
Well, it's funny. A couple weeks ago, we were very busy during one week, and I'm kind of the same way. I get up early, and I just love that time. And so I didn't do that one day, and I didn't condemn myself, but I just kind of forgot. I'm like, I got so busy so early. And by that evening, I just had a weird attitude. And I'm like, I didn't pray this morning. And it's not like it's this, you have to do it every day, but I noticed that difference just that one day. It was interesting. I was like, oh, okay. That's okay. I'll make up for tomorrow. But it is interesting. It's like you have such peace. And when life throws things your way, it's like you've got that abiding peace that you can go to God really quickly. You know how to go to him. You know how to put your worries in his hands. So yeah, it's pretty cool when you have that on a daily basis. It makes all the difference.
For sure.
Well, thank y'all so much for coming to talk with us.
I want to say one more thing.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Well, it's just words. It's like trying to highlight just how inspiring they are. Just so many different things that, help me watching them. I can just even remember, like, even before we got married, we were single, and I was scheduled to go preach in Stone Mountain. And I don't know if my car broke or I had a car. I don't know what it was. But it was just like, I'm trying to figure out, man, I got to preach in Stone Mountain. How am I going to get there? And it was just like, Jim was like, "Hey, you can use my car," and I'm like, "What?" You know, I don't know if you even remember
I don't
that,
remember that.
but it was just like, "You can use my car," and it was like, you know, and you might have been still a young convert because we wasn't married at that time, you know, and it was just like, really, you know, and I drove your car to Stone Mountain, preached, came back, and it was just like to you, it was like, hey man, whatever I can do to help,
Yeah.
and it was just, I mean, just things like that, just our friendship over the years, and coming for advice, you're always there, or hey, let's go, let's go crash a party, tell people about Jesus. Yeah man, let's go. I mean, it was just over the years you guys have been so encouraging, I mean, just and I don't, it was just, even when your mom died, it was just, I mean, y'all just took things in stride to where it was just like, man, are they human? Can they feel this? And it's just, to where it's just, I mean, just watching y'all, it really gives other people stability and helps settle people to where it's just like, I've got a friend that would help keep me grounded, and I know if I ever got out of line, you would be, hey, Tonio, I mean, I mean, it's just like you don't shy away from conversations or different things like that, and it's just like you guys are friends that everyone would want, and a lot of people don't have friends like that, and I just thank y'all for just really setting that example, and just being there for other people.
Well, I can't say it quite the same way, but I the feeling is definitely mutual. I mean, you guys have definitely inspired me and us as well, just over the years. Long friendship. One of the things that most inspires me about you guys is just your heart for people, and reaching people and helping people, and just trying to bring people into the kingdom, helping them stay saved and live for God. And it's convicting, really. But it really does inspire me, and you guys have not deviated from that, one bit. And so that I really, really do appreciate that about you guys.
It's just awesome how God puts all different kinds of personalities
Right.
in one church, and that's why we're the body of Christ. And we're not all the same, but man, we just complement each other. So it's really cool.
Yeah.
You bring them in, we calm them down.
I love it.
Yes,
I love it.
yes, and I'm gonna say this before we, a lot of people don't know, but you're one of my favorite preachers. I mean, you're really good.
Yes,
you're really
very good preacher.
Well,
And so I mean,
Praise
just
the
I mean,
Lord.
but there's just so many different things I can look to you as an example. I mean, just how you preach and prepare and different things like that. Thank you.
well, glory to God for that, for
Yes,
sure.
thank you.
Very good.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yes,
We
yes.
enjoyed this.